You know, after watching a bit of Linkara's review on the history of Power Rangers and Power Rangers in Space, I thought I'd throw my own 10 cents in, my own 2 cents in there. Um, to me, Power Rangers in Space, I gotta give it a lot of credit. Because it definitely felt more, as Linkara put it, as Lewis put it, very soap opera, soap opera, epic. Basically, it was like a big epic, is what it was. Like, for example, there are some shows that, when they only run for a season, that because of the massiveness and the epicness of the story, and it being one story arc, are condensed right into a movie. And I'll be honest with you, they could have done the same thing with Power Rangers in Space. In fact, they did just that. Yeah. They did just that. They took the Psycho Rangers arc and condensed it into a movie. Pretty good. But what are my thoughts on it? Well, again, I thought it was good. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I like the fact that it basically does continue right where Turbo left off. And, like Linkara pointed out, it does basically... I mean, the first intro that we get in Space, you don't even see who Andros is. Or anything. You don't see who he is. You don't see Astronema, Corone yet. What you see is just the main cast, with the exception of Justin. What you see is the main cast, with the exception of Justin, of Rangers from Turbo, as well as Divatox. And that's it. So, I like that. I like how they just kind of kept that hidden a little bit. Until we finally got the introduction of Andros and the new villain, Astronema. I like how, Dark Spectre's, when he chooses Astronema, it's like he's basically telling Divatox and Rita, hey, look, you guys have had your chances, but you blew it. And that basically with someone like Divatox, it's like, hey, you had your chance, but you blew it. You thought you would, but you hadn't physically gotten rid of them. So, I like how he just says Astronema is more suitable to do this. Because, yeah, she could be over the top. She could be silly at times. She could do this and that. But guess what? At least she tries to get the job done, and she does. And again, the one thing about this season was, it had a true epicness to it. It really had, something that, it basically had something for everyone. Is what I'm trying to say. It had something for everyone. I also like that it's established basically as the first series, if you will, to not only do crossovers, but it's also the first one to really bring back Rangers of the past. And not just bring them back, as guest stars or anything, but bring them back in the original morphing abilities. For example, you have Adam come back. And true, you could have said, well, you could have had Adam come back as Zeo Ranger Green. Or the original Turbo Ranger. Or whatever. No, you had him come back as the Black Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. That was pretty cool. And then of course you have Justin, who was annoying at times, but was really done well in his episode. I gotta agree with Linkara on that. And I like how he's brought back. But the one thing that throws people off is, why was his turbo powers around? How did he get his turbo powers back? Was it through the vehicle? Or what was it? No one knew. That was the one thing that did throw some people off. That was the one thing that threw some people off. But again, I like the fact that it did establish that former Rangers do return. And I like the fact that it established crossovers. Even though the first crossover was to help promote Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. Even though that's how it was done. The overall story arc, though, of the entire season was great and complex. I mean, you find out that basically Astronema was originally tricked into being evil. Basically raised to be evil, tricked into being evil while she was raised, and had no idea that her brother was the Red Ranger. And vice versa. So I like how they did that, and I like how they kind of started to grow a romantic situation between both Karone and the Silver Ranger. I really like that, I really did. The Psycho Ranger arc, I will say, was good too, because here you had the Rangers going up against an adversary that they had never thought that they basically going up against not just counterparts but adversaries that basically knew what they were going to do, and not just because they sucked out their data, sucked out and copied their life data, but basically because that's how they were built and made to be. And I like that, I really did. I also like the fact that we have a temporary switch in leadership when it comes to the villains. When Astronema tries to be good again by being herself, Karone, it doesn't last too long, but during that stead, we get Dachanda, if you will, as the replacement lead villain. That is until Astronema returns to try to see if she can figure something out, try to get this whole situation stopped. But she ends up getting captured and have cybernetics placed into her head. Now, this is the one other good thing I like about it, is because basically Dark Spectre, in such desperation to have Astronema, Karone, back on his side, not only does he implant the circuitry into her, but he oversees the fact. But in my opinion, in his desperation, he doesn't realize that all he's doing is nearly dooming himself. That basically he set himself up to be usurped by Karone, by Astronema, and she does temporarily succeed in gaining that power. But it's thanks to Dachanda, or whatever his name is, destroying Dark Spectre by launching a missile into his back, but also accidentally getting swallowed by him as well. So I did like that. Overall, the story arc, like I said, whether you have a sub-arc like Psycho Rangers and all that, I thought was really good. I really did. And yes, this also was, if you're a romantic at heart, was a season right off the bat, like in the second episode, where basically you have, basically it's like as soon as Andros demorphs and shows who he really is, and Ashley takes an instant liking to him, or as Linkara put it, an instant crushing to him. Basically, right then and there, just by the way she's walking around him, kind of eyeing him up and down, that their romantic angle is going to be sort of a subplot as well. And boy, does it really get played later down the line towards the end, or right at the end. It's like, why? I can't remember if they did some episodes where maybe Cassie went to Ashley and said, "Why don't you just tell Andros how you feel about him and get it over with?" I mean, you could definitely tell that there were things between Cassie and TJ at times, but that was totally different. Um, Again though, again, story arc and sub arcs all together made this a good season. I'm not going to deny that. I'm really not going to deny that. And to me, Countdown to Destruction could have made a great primetime movie or special because just the way it was presented, just the way it was shown, and its presentation was. It was just very, very well done. And I think it could have been done as great as a movie. There's no doubt in my opinion about that. I did kind of like at the end. I did like the climax, because you knew Zordon was powerful. You knew he was a powerful wizard or whatever he was, right? You just didn't know how powerful until he actually goes out and says, "Hey, the only way everything can be saved and restored is if I'm shattered. Is if you kill." Basically, he tells Andros, "Hey, you got to kill me to save the world, to save the universe." And he does just that, and it shows you just how powerful he is. I mean, and I know there's a lot of fans thinking, "Man, if Zordon was that powerful, why didn't he just do that in the first place? Why didn't he just use his power and go, zip, boop, okay, Rita said, zip. You're good guys now. You're a good guy. You're a good girl now." Or Diva talks. Whoop. It's like why couldn't they just do that? I'm sure some fans are like, why couldn't he just do that in the first place? Go figure. I don't know. Or like, why did he allow himself to be captured? The only thing I can think of is there was a prophecy. Of course, we know of the Millennium Message and all that. But basically, there was a prophecy. Probably that someday down the line, a Ranger would have to destroy Zordon. But they just didn't know how. So, sorry, I'm just thinking there for a second. So overall, again, I know I'm repeating myself. I know I sound like a broken record, but I thought this season was good too. I will admit that. I mean, I went out when I lived in Kansas and I bought the Power Rangers in Space Psycho Ranger movie. That's how much I liked it. Heck, I even recorded the shell-shocked crossover with the Ninja Turtles. So I did like it. There's no doubt about that. And I think people that didn't like it, you got to get your heads examined or re-examined because it was good. It was darker than the others. It was more dramatic, and it really kept your interest. It really did. I mean, it had stuff in there you just didn't see coming. I mean, if you would have said right from the beginning, when you first saw the first episode, that Astronema and Andros were brother and sister, no one would have believed you. But yet they were. There you go, yet they were. So, anyway, I really liked it. I really did enjoy it. And I think when you think about it, it definitely established and firmly established the characters that at the end of episode 19 that had the torch passed to them from Tommy, Tanya, Kat, and Adam. I'm pretty sure you could kind of admit that this series firmly established them as Rangers. So, that's all I'm going to say. Let me know what you guys thought of Power Rangers in Space. Comment below. Check out Linkara's History of Power Rangers, especially in space. And I'll talk to you